Class 10. How are you? I hope you are quite fine at home and you are healthy, wealthy and preparing for your final examination. Dear students, today I have decided to teach you fifth lesson of your book entitled Footprints Without Feet. Here I would like to remind you that beginning two lessons have been taught and videos have already been uploaded. Lesson 3rd and 4th you have not to study. So today it is the turn of 5th lesson, which is Footprints Without Feet. Dear students, the present lesson entitled Footprints Without Feet is a story by H.G. Wells. It is full of fun, humor, suspense and other human activities. Students, the present lesson is an extract of the book The Invisible Man, written by H.G. Wells, who is the writer of the present lesson also because it is the extract from that big book. Students, this story starts with two boys who are watching muddy imprints in the middle of London. The boys were very surprised. They started following the footprints because they were not only fresh footprints, they were not only fresh muddy imprints, rather they were disappearing again and again. This was a matter of great surprise. In spite of not finding the person whose footprints were there on the road, they followed the remarkable sight for some time, and again when the footprints disappeared slowly and gradually, they left it, but the impact of all the activities remained on their mind and heart for a long time. The students, this was the footprints of a scientist, namely Griffin, who was very hardworking, very laborious, very sincere, and who had decided to discover a medicine that can make our body transparent like solid glass. He was so hardworking, he carried out experiments after experiments, and ultimately he was successful in finding the medicine of his choice. In spite of being a brilliant scientist, he had no love and regard for law. That's why he was lawless. Many evidences are here which would make you able to understand that he was lawless. Question comes in the examination. Very important question is this. His landlord disliked him and wanted to eject him. His landlord disliked him and wanted that he should be out of the house. He got angry. He took the medicine and threw away the clothes, and ultimately he became invisible and set the house of landlord on fire, and ultimately he disappeared from the place. And while he disappeared, while he was walking around the middle of the London, he fell into the mud, and when he came out, his muddy imprints were appearing on the road, which were seen and which were just observed by the two boys in the beginning of the lesson. Really, this was a remarkable sight, met their eyes, they followed and stopped. Students, when he became homeless, wanderer and moneyless, he anyway escaped and the boys couldn't follow him for a long time. His adventures were over gradually and slowly. Adventure means the task, the activities, the heroic actions he did, all those things were there. But he had chosen a bad time. Why had he chosen? It was mid of the winter and it was bitterly cold, and nobody just may remain for a long time without clothes. So he had no choice, no way. He decided to sleep into a big London store for warmth. This was his second illegal activity that he did. When he entered there, he found the doors opened. Anyway, he entered because he was invisible, and when the doors were closed in the evening, when the closing time came, he started enjoying the pleasure of clothing and feeding himself without regard to expense. When he was inside the London store. He thought that he would have no expense at all. Whatever things he wanted to have, whatever things he wanted to eat, he had not to pay any just money. So he broke open boxes and wrappers and fitted himself out with warm clothes. He dressed himself fully. He wanted to keep himself warm because he was without clothes for some time and it was unbearable cold, bitterly cold outside, so he decided to do that. Ultimately, he became a visible person, and in the kitchen of the restaurant he found cold meat and coffee, and he followed up the meal with sweets and wine taken from the grocery. He dressed himself, he took cold meat and coffee, he also took just sweets, and ultimately he also drank wine. And he was so tired that he slept on the pile of quilts, and ultimately it so happened that he started enjoying sound sleeping. It was early in the morning, he was tired and he couldn't wake up in the time. Two assistants of the same London store came and they saw him inside and they started chasing him for no reason. As Griffin thought, if he couldn't become invisible and if he was in visible position, he would be just caught hold by them. So they started chasing him, and at the end of the chase, he escaped only by quickly taking off newly found clothes. So once more he found himself invisible and it was still bitterly cold outside. So this time he decided to try the stock of a theoretical company in the hope of finding not only clothes but also something that would just keep himself in empty space above his shoulders. So he started shivering with cold and he went to Drury Lane, a famous lane in London, and where the theatre ward is seen alive. So he soon found a suitable shop. He made his way in invisible way. He went upstairs, and what did he do? He just dressed himself in very unreal manner. Bandages for forehead, dark glasses and others, false nose were there, and ultimately he had a large hat around his head. So he wanted to escape because he is now visible, and ultimately he came from behind the shopkeeper, attacked him and just robbed him of all the money he could find. Students, this was his third illegal action that you have to keep in mind what happened after that. Whether he was arrested by the police or not, all these things would be discussed in next video. So watch it and wait for the next one. Thank you.